A ton of views about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI and SSDI. You don't want to miss out on this, so here it is. Gas prices are continuing to rise again, and now, many advocacy groups are urging the president to take action, executive action, and send out inflation relief checks to Americans. This could be a one-time payment for so many people. New stimulus checks worth more than $400 are going out to hundreds, if not thousands of people. The Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry announced that applicants who chose direct deposit will see their checks within 10 days. The Minnesota Governor, Tim Walz, said at the direct payments and news conference on October 3rd that I'm grateful for the work of Minnesotans did to help people across the state today and stay healthy and safe through the crisis. Frontline workers are an important part of our fabric of our state and help us continue functioning during this time. The Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry announced that applicants who chose direct deposit will see their checks within 10 days. However, you could see your payment within 3 to 4 weeks if you chose to receive the compensation via debit card. Applicants who applied should have received an email informing them if they were approved or denied for the one-time payment. And the temporary commissioner of the state's labor department said that the industry and the money is subject to federal income tax, but not the state income tax. And lower gas prices in Minnesota, along with cheaper used cars, slowed inflation for a second straight month. But new inflation reports have actually painted a far rosy picture as many other items increased in prices. Consumer prices surged 8.3% last month, down from 8.5% from a year-over-year increase in July. Inflation is still painfully high as food and energy prices remain volatile, but is down from a 4-decade high of 9.1% in June. In the Midwest, inflation rose to 8.1% in August of 2022, and used vehicles are declining, but still remain about 7.8% higher than as at this time last year. Airfares are declining as well. As major oil companies actually plan to slash production, U.S. gas prices may rise again, with some states potentially feeling the burn more than others. The Alliance of Oil-Producing Countries announced it will cut production by 2 million barrels per day starting this October, a move that may put further upward pressure on gasoline prices. Even before the group's decision, gas prices had already started ticking up across the nation after briefly declining again, and the national average gas price stood at $3.89 as of Friday, up from $3.80 from the week before. Illinois residents have just 8 days left to claim this $700 check, everybody. The tax rebates are part of the state's family plan. It was introduced by a bill from the state senator, and it was who passed the legislature earlier this year. The bill sets aside millions of dollars for those who filed their taxes in 2021 to help with the increased costs caused by the crisis and rising inflation. The senator told reporters that from crisis losses to the increased cost of living, families are facing some food insecurity and are in financial distress. So as a General Assembly, we recognize the daily struggles of hardworking people and pass this bill to help so many people out. So eligible residents have until October 17 to file for last year's taxes to receive the payment. And the amount each person receives will vary depending on the taxes filed. So hopefully people can get the stimulus check that they so desperately need.
And in our note today, we highlighted 5 points to investors why we think sentiment for the group really reflects a lot of the risks that we see. And when you look at the stock price declines we've already seen for this group, down more than 50% year to date and twice the market's decline. When you look at a couple of the bellwethers like Nike already having lowered the bar for the group, in our opinion, we think a lot of the fundamental risks may be in the stocks here, and it certainly requires a certain risk tolerance. We expect a lot of volatility to continue, but in our view, we see some opportunities emerging more on a 3 to 6 month basis.
You like a couple of shoe companies, not including Nike, which is, of course, way much more than a shoe company, but Deckers and Crocs, which are largely in that area.
Yeah, that's right. So to be clear, we do like Nike, maybe not as much in the short term as the 3 we highlighted today, given some of the challenges that brand has in China. But the 3 we highlighted all have some factor of fundamentals that we think can help weather the storm and or are structurally better business models that comparing over the last few years. We also think valuation for the 3 we highlighted are quite compelling. Deckers is among the highest quality portfolio brands in our coverage, has more than $25 a share in cash on the balance sheet, and we think is not getting credit for the growth potential of the combined portfolio of both the UGG brand and the Hoka run specialty brand. So that's one we like a lot here as a quality name. Crocs is certainly more controversial. The valuation is much lower here. We think the market is pricing in as much as a 20 to 30% cut to Crocs sales and much lower profitability. and also not giving credit for the newest brand they acquired late last year, the Hey Dude brand. And frankly, all of the market indications seem to be holding up very well for both brands, and we think the expectations are overblown here to the downside.
And your third pick, which we didn't mention yet, but VF Corp, which has Vans and North Face and Dickies, a lot of outdoor, but the Dickies part of that too, with the exposure to the workforce, right?
Yeah, that's right. VF Corp is a portfolio of 12 brands. We think the portfolio is well positioned and certainly much better positioned than in the past. Virtually all of the brands except Vans are on a strong trajectory, including Dickies. And we think the market is overly concentrated right now on the Vans brand. We just met with management several weeks ago, spent a lot of time hearing about the new strategies, meeting the team at Vans. We think a fundamental turnaround there is certainly possible over the next few quarters. And the stock is trading at valuation levels on a forward 12-month basis that really rival back to 2008 and 2000.
Surveys show that Americans see inflation as the biggest problem facing the country right now, and the households blame Biden for the price spike. The hotter than expected report will also have major implications for the Federal Reserve, like solidifying a series of aggressive rate hikes as central bank officials try to tame inflation. Policy lawmakers already raised the benchmark interest rate by 50 basis points, double the usual size, in May, and they're expected to approve at least 2 more similarly sized hikes in June and July. Republicans are also seizing on the report, slamming the president and his administration, as well as Democrats for the surging costs for American families. According to both JP Morgan Chase and Washington Post, bank balances in the United States soared as stimulus payments were being distributed, and they still remain higher than they were in pre-crisis levels. This potentially suggests that any additional stimulus payment won't go to the basic needs, as much as more discretionary purchases, which may drive prices higher still. Experts have told Yahoo News that a federal stimulus check could help many people cope with inflation, particularly those with lower income. According to Yahoo News, low-income households tend to have less money in emergency savings, so delivering some cash boosts could definitely help so many people. Folks, what are your thoughts on this? Is President Biden doing all that it takes to send the fourth stimulus check, or do you think he needs to do a better job on this and help out the American people with stimulus payments every single year? Tell me what you think in the comments below. So we have a ton of good news about the fourth stimulus check to cover in this video. I definitely don't want you to miss it, so continue watching. As gas prices have hit new record levels, Democrats are urging that gas relief checks be sent out as soon as possible. The administration is meeting with top lawmakers to put together a new crisis relief bill that will help so many people. According to ABC News, the average price of a gallon of gas, $5 a gallon. That's on Thursday. It crossed the milestone after a rapid rise over the past month has alarmed public officials and strained the budgets of everyday Americans. New AAA data shows that in all 50 states, the average price of a gallon of gas stood above $4.40. In California, the state with the highest gas price, and drivers paid an eye-popping average of $6.40 per gallon. The rising prices owe to a summer travel boom that has brought more people to the pump. Experts told ABC News last month that the spike in demand coincides with a shortage of crude oil supply. As consumer frustration has mounted in recent months, Biden has faced criticism over his handling of cost increases in essentials like fuel and groceries. Only 37% of Americans approve of Biden's handling of the economy. Republican leaders in Congress have faulted Biden's management of the U.S. oil supply for high gas prices, blasting his choice to shut down the Keystone Pipeline last year. In March, the U.S. and its allies announced the collective release of 60 million barrels of oil from their strategic reserves over the following months, which sought to alleviate some of the supply shortage and blunt price increases. The Transportation Secretary told ABC that inflation is Biden's top economic priority, and when asked about the release of oil from strategic reserves, he said, "I don't think it's correct to say it has not made a difference at all. This is an action to help to stabilize global oil prices." Another factor affecting gas prices over the past year has been challenges in increasing production.
The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Spear, for 5 minutes.
I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection.
Madam Speaker and members, everyone knows what a lemon car is, but we have a fleet of lemon ships. They're called the literal combat ship, except it's a misnomer because it's not survivable in combat. Today we're calling it the leaking, cracked ships. And let me tell you why. If the LCS was a car sold in America today, they'd be deemed lemons and the automakers would be sued into oblivion. But in the federal government, it's big business as usual. $50 billion over the lifetime of the program. That's a lot of rotten lemons. My concerns and warnings about the LCS go back a decade, along with the late Senator John McCain. It's costing taxpayers billions of dollars, yet has failed to produce a reliable ship. So I was stunned and outraged to see that the proposed 2023 Defense Appropriations Bill only decommissions 4 LCS when it should be 9, as President Biden and the Navy has proposed. The annual cost of 5 LCS ships could pay for 8 child care centers in the military, 4 barracks, or a $1,000 bonus for every enlisted E3 and below. The LCS program's legendary failures have made it the subject of 2 government accountability reports. Those reports found each LCS costing an astounding $59 million a year to operate, or actually not to operate, because they are more often than not in dock because they aren't working. That's 3/4 of the cost of operating a destroyer, which has 3 times the crew and a much greater capability, such as anti-submarine warfare. And LCS is notoriously unreliable, plagued by breakdowns that have seen some ships spend more time in the repair yard than in deployment. On this chart, you will see the USS Little Rock, commissioned in 2017, lost power at sea in 2022. In March 2018, it was stranded in ice for 3 months on its maiden voyage. Or how about the USS Milwaukee, commissioned November 15th? In December 2015, it broke down due to software malfunctions and was towed 40 miles. Or how about the USS Freedom, commissioned in 2008, in 2011 had a 6-inch crack in the hull, in 2013 immobilized during trial run, in February 2016 coupling crack, in August of 2016 engine replacement needed. So what do we have going here? The GAO found that the LCS had experienced engine failure in 10 of the 11 deployments reviewed. The aluminum hull of the Independence class punctures easily. I mean, this is not funny. This is real money. And the combining gear for all Freedom-class ships must be replaced. One major reason for the excessive cost of LCS: contractors. Unlike other ships where sailors do the maintenance, LCS relies almost exclusively on contractors who own and control the technical data needed to maintain and repair. So what is this ship's mission, and what does it contribute to national security? Nothing. The Navy says it plans to use the LCS for partner engagement as a replacement for obsolete minesweepers for long-range fire capability.